he's not, you know, the person calling all the shots in the lab. He's working for Mills and trying to continue to push his genetic dream forward, but it's under very different circumstances. Someone else is telling him what to do and how to do it, and in what time to do it in, and what time frame, and all of that. So he's not only much more confined as a kind of artist, because I think he fancies himself as an artist, but he's not in control of anything. He's completely, his hands are tied. The Indominus Rex was the first foray at reinventing the wheel and taking something that already existed, not just cloning it, but then morphing it or crossbreeding it with something else and making something else out of it. So now we know in the world of Jurassic World that that can be done. And so then the possibilities of all the things that could be done subsequently are really great. So in this movie we have this Indoraptor, which is probably even scary. Is it possible that it's scarier than the Indominus Rex? I don't know what to say about it except that if I was Dr. Henry Wu and I made it, I'd be very proud of myself.
The most important quality in Jay is that he has a need to make the audience feel what he's feeling. And feelings are complex. They're of very different nature. So that's why Jay's movies always keep mixing genres, because nothing is black or white, and the complexity of the human beings is the interesting part of any story. So when it came to Jurassic, you can feel that there's a potential for adventure and drama and intellectuality and questions for the audience and conflicts and being scared and having fun. So that combination of so many different feelings that you can get when you see a Jurassic movie, that was perfect for Jay. The first set piece of the film is an underwater set piece. And there's never been an underwater set piece in a Jurassic movie. So it's sort of a statement. It's like, don't expect we want to surprise you. Don't expect the usual. We're bringing something different. When he gets to set, he really wants to catch the moment. So everything has to work to get to that objective. So for that, he uses whatever he has at hand. He plays a lot of music every time, with every scene, very different kinds of music depending on the tone he wants to achieve. He would scare the actors. He would make them jump. Actually, there are 3 or 4 very fun moments with Franklin. You could easily scare him, and Jay had real fun doing that. And we got really genuine moments out of that. But at the same time, he wants to create a specific mood on the set, not only for the actors, but also for the rest of the crew, because it gives a different energy to what he does. So it's true that it's a very intense experience to be with Jay on a set.
This movie starts at a crisis point. There is an extinction level event that is going to occur on the island. There is an active volcano and it's going to erupt and all of the dinosaurs are going to die unless Claire does something about it. And that is where we start this movie. That is where we begin. And it's basically what we're starting with is, okay, we've now had over 20 years of dinosaurs coexisting with human beings. Did we make a mistake? Is this nature's way of correcting itself? Should we let nature take its own course, run its own course, or should we step in and protect these animals that we have created ourselves? At the beginning of the first Jurassic World, we see a woman who has really kind of lost her sense of values and compromised her sense of values in the name of profit. Now what we see is a completely different person who is deeply in touch with her values, deeply in touch with her sense of responsibility, and is singularly focused on protecting the animals that she didn't even really, acknowledge their value prior to this. So it's, she's a very different woman in the beginning of this film, because she has found a sense of purpose, and she has found her mission, really, and she will not stop at anything. Zia is a paleo-veterinarian, and Franklin is a programmer. And there's sort of this motley crew that goes to the island together. And Zia proves herself to be a tremendous badass. And Franklin proves himself to be more capable than he considers himself at the beginning of the story. This is a new world in which dinosaurs and human beings are cohabitating and coexisting. And it's no longer the dynamic that was promised in Jurassic Park that we saw in Jurassic World, where dinosaurs are caged, dinosaurs are imprisoned, we are in control of the dinosaurs. And what you've seen is that actually we're not in control of those dinosaurs at all. And they are far more dangerous than we could ever imagine. You would think that the most dangerous thing that could happen, the scariest thing that could happen, would be facing a dinosaur. That's not the case in this movie. What we see is that there is something more menacing, there is something more evil, and there is something more bloodthirsty, and that thing is mankind. J.A. Bayona is an incredible filmmaker, and particularly genius when it comes to frightening people. He just understands suspense and particularly creatures, monsters, and what is so scary. And oftentimes what's so scary is when you don't see the monster until the very, very, very last minute, and just at just the right moment, in just the right way, the monster is exposed in a way that just will haunt you for the rest of your life. But you love it.
The Jurassic movies have always been movies about science and imagination merging, thrillers with dinosaurs chasing people around. But at the core of it, the heart of it, they're relationship movies about people and the relationships those people have with one another and the relationship those people have with nature. And so we're exploring that relationship further. Toby Jones, Rafe Spall, Ted Levine, Justice Smith, Daniella Pineda, Izzy, oh, she's so adorable and really good. Geraldine Chaplin. We've got a really great cast. Jeff Goldblum, not gonna lie, that's pretty awesome. And then Bryce and me, and as well as a few others. And so it's a deep cast, really cool story. It's the new chapter. It's bigger and better and more exciting. And yeah, man, it's Jurassic. People are gonna love it. Bryce is a pro. She knows exactly. I mean, she's Ron Howard's daughter, and she has an incredible work ethic. And I say Ron Howard's daughter because she has that gene. She's a filmmaker. She's a director, a producer, and a storyteller. She really lives for this, and she's very passionate about every step of the way in the process. He's a huge movie buff. He loves all kinds of movies, but he does love a movie that has an edge and a bit of danger to it, and he's bringing that to this film, which is really exciting to see. The music, the slow pace, the suspense, not so much what is there, but what might be around the corner. And I think he's bringing it back, and that's always what these movies have been. They're suspense thrillers. They're science and imagination and suspense thrillers, and that's what we're doing here. And J.A. is really good at that. He's really good at that. And the last movie was pretty physical as well, but this one is really physical. It's like dive rolling out of the backs of trucks and diving off of stuff and landing in water. We do have a whole sequence that we shot in water that took maybe a week or something. Got great big fight sequences. It's they've taken the action hero element that worked in the first movie and expanded on that a little bit for this movie. She's so lifelike. I mean, they had one person dilating the pupils, one controlling the eyelids, one controlling the nostrils, the cheeks as she breathed, her jugular as it pumped, each of her hands and claws and her neck. I mean, everything. There was a team of like 12 guys underneath doing a very fine choreographed dance to make her look real. Everything that you do when you're doing a Jurassic Park movie, you have to give credit to Michael Crichton. And yeah, he created this extraordinary world. And it's from that idea that all of these movies are extracted. And so, you know, you definitely have to give credit where credit is due.
There's an extinction level event that's about to happen on Isla Nublar because of a volcano that has existed since the island began. It was even on our map for Jurassic World, and even in the original book they talk about how it was a volcanic island. And so we, in rereading Crichton, we zeroed in on this as being an opportunity. And what would be the result of that? The result is that if these animals were using the island as a natural habitat, that single event could eliminate all the dinosaurs left on the planet. Well, we thought it was important to bring back Blue because she's a full-fledged character now that I think, I hope we care about. I know that kids care about her very much, and I know that Owen cares about her. So I felt like her role in the story needed to go beyond just the fact that she's a dinosaur. I wanted to understand more about her history with Owen, how that connection formed, how that connection has value to the people who are doing what they're doing here. The fact that Owen was able to train a highly intelligent animal to respond to him and to have empathy, things that you would never assume that an animal could have. I wanted Ian Malcolm in the film as somebody who would be the best authority to say, look at this. I told you this was going to happen. And sure enough, it has. And I wanted to make sure that he bookended the movie, that he was able to set up all of the ideas that we're exploring, of all of the dialogue that he has in the Senate hearing, which a lot of it is from Crichton. It's from the book. And I really wanted to pull that dialogue so we could have that. You know, only Michael Crichton was able to write Ian Malcolm in a way that we recognize. He's able to articulate the danger of the science that they are messing with. This movie is different. This movie is pushing something that we know forward into the future. And I hope that people come out with their imaginations expanded and the possibilities expanded of what a Jurassic Park movie can be.
Within the Dinosaur Protection Group, we're the few individuals in the entire world who are at the front line of advocating on behalf of these animals. What's so funny about Justice's character, Franklin, is he's there because he's the tech guy, and he's kind of pulled into this dangerous task we have of saving the dinosaurs. I'm there because this is what my character has always wanted. Zia has always wanted to go in the field, to operate on a dinosaur, to help a dinosaur. And Franklin is more like he just has to be there because he has to be. And his character is tested. So the opposite, my character is dying to go, and this is the last place Franklin wants to go. Both my character, Zia, and Justice's character, Franklin, it's so close to how it is in real life, and that he's this young man, and I'm his senior, a little more knowledgeable, a little more experienced, and he's sort of young and terrified. Not terrified in real life, in fact, he's quite confident. But that brother-sister relationship it definitely helps translate in the movie. I think Zia loves Franklin, but also is sort of like the tough older sister, like, hey, buck up, and like punches him in the arm. And we definitely have that in real life too. It's been quite some time since Owen and Blue have encountered one another. In fact, the last time they saw each other was the first film, so time's passed, and yet there's always been this relationship or bond between them. So when Blue first sees Owen in the jungle, when we're all there to find her, there's this happy moment. It was practical effects, but you would never know. The thing looked so real. So it felt like I really was operating on a real animal. And after a while, we all grew this relationship toward this thing. It just, having it look so real made it feel that more imminent, the task to save her. It's not just a franchise, it's something so much more special, and it's so layered. It's about the human condition, but also it's humbling to watch because it shows what happens when mankind tampers with nature and when mankind thinks that it is God, when in fact it's not. Nature always wins, life always finds a way.
You can't just have sets and action and expect to have the movie. You need characters. You need relationships between the characters. So to have Bryce and Chris back together again and have their banter and their relationship that's grown over the past 3 years is fantastic. And these characters that Colin and Derek wrote that J.A. is bringing to life are really interesting and exciting and fun to watch. And you layer that then on top of the real sets and the real dinosaurs, and you have a really fun movie. Steven Spielberg loves these movies, and obviously he's been here from the start. And he's very involved. I talk to him all the time about what we're doing. He's very supportive. He loves what J.A. is doing. But he will weigh in with different ideas and different thoughts because he can't help himself. He's off shooting another movie, but he looks at dailies. He said, well, if we did this, or I love that, or, you know, so he's completely involved in his baby. I think shooting at Pinewood, we were able to get closer to the dinosaurs. We needed a set that we could get closer and feel the danger a little more than we have in the past movies.
Working with Bryce and Chris has been awesome. Bryce is like so nice. Like I'll see her and it's like, hi Bryce, hi Izzy, and then like we give each other a hug and stuff. It's really nice. She's really kind and she's really supportive, and so sometimes she'll like give me tips or kind of use your stance when you're sneaking, like in the diorama scenes. Chris is really funny and he's also really supportive. When I first stepped onto the library set, it was mixed emotions. I kind of just wanted to run around going, yes, I'm here! But I couldn't really do that. But it was just amazing because it was so big and everything looked so realistic. Like, it's amazing how people can create things in such, like something as big as that in such a small amount of time with so much detail.
It's very interesting when you play with action, you know, and explosions and hundreds of dinosaurs. I mean, that's great, but then there is a moment that it's very interesting when you go more claustrophobic and tighter, and you start to build up the tension in a very different way, like shot by shot, designing very carefully every camera movement. Chris all the time will give you new ideas, and from take to take he will change everything, which I love, because I think I like these kind of unpredictable actors that they just fight every take to do it better and better. And Bryce is such an extraordinary actress, and he's so professional. It's kind of like fun that somehow they resemble a little bit their characters, you know. Claire always wants to be so good at everything that she does, and I think Bryce is the same, and you can tell. I feel very lucky to have the chance of working with new actors like Daniella Pineda or Justice Smith, and they're so good and such a joy to work with. Look, of course, they feel the excitement of what is to be in a big movie like this one, you know, and you can tell that when you're working with them, the level of compromise, the hard work that they do every day on set, take after take, it's amazing, you know. I think animatronics are very helpful, especially for the actors, because they help a lot the actor. The actor, it's always for the actor important to have something real in front so they can interact in a more organic way. I think the secret behind the work that we did in Fallen Kingdom was to merge both technologies, to cheat the eye of the audience so there is a moment that they don't know what they're watching, if what they're watching is real or not. And that is the goal. When you create something that looks 100% real and you cannot tell if it's animatronic or CGI.
The island is self-destructing, and because of a volcano, and the foundation that I have established for the preservation of these animals is galvanized to save as many as they can and bring them by ship to a sanctuary, which I have established on an island which will be safe, and there will be no tourists and no interchange between humanity and these creatures.
Jurassic World was the name of the park. It ran amok like the first Jurassic Park did. Everybody ate people, the dinosaurs ate people, and there's no more park. But there's a deserted park and an island full of dinosaurs. In our story, there's an active volcano about to erupt on that island. And there's a debate going on with people who love animals and love even these cloned animals who want to save them and not let the volcano take them. And they bring me here to Washington, D.C. in the Senate committee to see what I think of the whole thing. My character seems to take the long view, cosmically, scientist as he is. Neil deGrasse Tyson, you know, some of my people I personally admire. Carl Sagan, I'm sure he admires. And you know, we know we're on a fragile planet and we're going to die in this form very quickly. But do we really want to distinguish ourselves by going out so stupidly and greedily? I think it's a good question. He was very passionate and serious and personal about not only making a great movie, but articulating and having the issues articulated in the movie and maybe by my character of these things that we've talked about. Pro-science and anti-misuse of science and bad ethics and all of that and greed, and you know, I think those things are, like I say, personal and substantial to him.
Franklin is riddled with anxiety, social anxiety, and just general anxiety, and throughout the course of the film, he kind of learns how to come into his own by facing death and tribulation repeatedly. So that's kind of his arc of the movie. Chris is the funniest dude, the nicest dude. He cracks me up so much, and I try to keep up with him. Like, I try to keep that back and forth going because I just don't want to let him down in terms of, I don't know, I want to prove myself comedically because he's so brilliant. Daniella is incredibly funny, and so I think if I'm ever funny in this movie, it's just because I'm feeding off of what she's doing. Off camera, we have sort of like a sibling rapport, so I think that it helps when we're on camera, because I think that's a similar dynamic to what Franklin and Zia have. The raptor was it sweat, it drooled, it blinked, it had eye fluid, it was just the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And it also took like 8 guys, I think, to operate it, who were all just like huddled under a table, sweating their asses off, trying to get this thing to move and live like a real dinosaur. But I mean, and it did. I mean, those guys are incredible. Jay thought it was a good idea to scare me a bunch of times in order to get a genuine reaction from me, which I like. As an actor, I like that. I like being as authentic as possible, but as a person, I don't like it because it's terrifying. There's a scene in the movie where I'm tapping on a lamp and it explodes, and it's written in the script. So I was like, okay, but he told me when we were shooting that scene that he's like, so we're just gonna do it in post. The lamp's just gonna explode in post. So just act like it exploded. And I was like, okay, fine, I can do that. And I'm tapping, and my face is like centimeters away from this lamp, and then it bursts in my face, and like I almost crapped my pants. I mean, it was terrifying. I was very upset, but then he was like, oh, okay, but then I was used to it, and he's like, well, we got the shot, and yada yada yada, and then he continued to do things and not tell me, like play T-Rex noises over the loudspeaker to scare me. When I didn't know, like in the middle of a take, and there was like during the earthquake, the chairs had like a vibrating thing on them, and that scared the crap out of me. Like, yeah, I love it as an actor. Again, I love it, but as a person, just every time I'm around him, I'm just on edge that he's gonna scare me again.
When we put this movie together, we had a deliberate plan, which was to start out big, to take you to Isla Nublar, to have a huge scene with lots of dinosaurs and volcanoes and lava and explosions, people loading everything on a giant ship, and then go and get tighter and smaller and more suspenseful and scarier, so that you end up in a drama with dinosaurs in a space with human beings inside a house, inside a very large house. But sort of to bring back some of that feeling that you had when the raptors were in the kitchen with the kids in the first one, because that people always remember that as one of the great sequences. In order to complete the gyrosphere underwater sequence, we had to build essentially a roller coaster ride in which the gyrosphere is up on top. It has Bryce and it has Justice in it. We put them in, and then we filmed them the very first time that they did it, in order to get the real honest reactions, of them suddenly be propelled over and straight down, as if they were falling 100 feet into the water. One of the key things of all of the Jurassic movies has been what happens when science doesn't have any controls, because science on its own can explore areas that may be dangerous or controversial, and if money is involved, you may end up with solutions to things that are not desirable. This movie is caught up with those very same issues.
We learn at the beginning of the movie that Claire, played by the brilliant Bryce Dallas Howard, is now working for some kind of charity which is in favour of the preservation of these dinosaurs which have been left on the island whilst and there is an imminent eruption of a volcano. The powers that be have decided to let the animals burn. Claire thinks that that's not a good thing, but doesn't have the means or the money or the support in order to bring these dinosaurs off the island, until she gets a phone call from this really handsome dude called Eli Mills, who says to her that he has got a plan to get the animals off the island. We're very lucky to live in an age where anything is possible on screen. So to have both of those elements, to have a classical sort of suspenseful filmmaking style, which J.A. Bayona employs, with the might of digital animation that we have available now, it's an exciting prospect.
Michael Crichton, I think, came up with a secret sauce that was able to really deliver to an audience a credible science that allowed them to believe the dinosaurs were now walking amongst us. Juan Antonio Bayona did an amazing job through his craft, through his art, in being able to make a movie a little bit like the first movie I directed, a little bit like the last movie that Colin Trevorrow directed, but was 100% his. That he found a way not to hijack and change the tone or mood or style of Jurassic Park, but he found a way to make it his own Jurassic World film. and because he's a real filmmaker and he has a real voice, and we were blessed that he brought his voice to our series. Blue has become a real character that we have imprinted on. You know, in the first movie, John Hammond liked to be around every birth, every hatching, because he wanted the animal to imprint on him. In this case, I think we have the audience has imprinted on Blue, which allows Blue to become a major character that we really care about in this second Jurassic World film. I'm really happy that Jeff Goldblum is back with us in a way that really brings, you know, science and ethics and morality together.
My character, it's safe to say, is interested in money and the profits to be made from generating new breeds of dinosaur. And the way he sees profits being made is, can they be sold? Can you sell them as weapons, like an arms dealer? So in a way, he's like a rogue arms dealer. That appealed to me. I like playing people like that, people who are fully compromised.